is up, and it's good.
You're listening to The Extra Point, hosted by Phil Ruskin. Welcome.
Yo, welcome to another episode of The Extra Point. It's your boy. What's up, dude? With Kendall, I got my guy Kendall with me. Been a minute since we have done a show together. Let's try that again. Let's just try that again. How did week one go for you?
Hey, week one was great. Great to watch football. Thursday became Friday night football.
I love that.
I'm more of an NFL than a college guy. Became like Saturday. Wait, just like a normal do laundry on Saturday. I'm getting used to this football, and then Sunday came, and yeah, no, it was great to watch football. It was nice to look down at the phone, see a whole lot of green bars on Sleeper. The 1-0 Club knows what I'm talking about. It was it was pretty good in the streets. I think we cleared just north of a 70% win rate. So we're feeling very, very good about week one.
I was fortunate enough to take in the Niners Seahawks game live, 10 rows off the field in the corner of the end zone where George scored his touchdown before George promptly exited with his hamstring injury. But we won the game, and that's really all I care about. So good week one. Like you, I was also above that 70% threshold. Obviously, you guys know this is a Dynasty show, so we're looking at mostly Dynasty. Kendall and I were talking backstage. It is Tuesday. Tuesday means waiver wires, and I'll be honest, I'm only in a handful of redraft leagues, and thank God I'm only in a few because waivers just drain my energy. But the energy I do have, let's get into this show, Kendall. Look, I know a bunch of people want to know what's going on with the rookies. This is a Dynasty show. We love talking about rookies. We love talking range of outcomes, but it's week one, guys. So we are going to do a rookie check-in after week 4. How are they doing? What's our range of outcomes? Are we trading for anyone? Are we targeting stock up, stock down? That kind of a show. After week 5, and we will start advertising this next week, we are going to do a 12-team single quarterback, no tight end premium, to mirror as many as many leagues as we can. But we're going to do a rookie redraft live on the show because people want to see what, their draft, how it looks now that we've seen these guys. Is there going to be a ton of movement? Some guys after this first week may solidify their spot, others up and down. I just want to say this for 1 second, and then we're going to move on and jump right into the real content of the show tonight. Emeka Egbuka was as advertised. Woo, baby. Sexy. That's all I'm going to say. He's sexy, man. He's just, let's see how it goes in week 2, but he looked good, 2 touchdowns, big target share. Chris Godwin's out for a while. Emeka Egbuka, if you were fortunate enough to draft him in your rookie drafts, enjoy. All right, let's get into this. Kendall and I are going to go through all 4 positions tonight, and we are going to talk Dynasty, of course, as we always do. But it's redraft season. The real season is upon us. So I want to talk about some guys that really we had question marks about coming into the season. And so I think the first thing you need to address, obviously, is what type of a league you're in, 10-team, 12-team. And then, of course, what is your scoring format for the quarterbacks, where we are going to start tonight, 4-point versus 6-point. So I think the thing that's probably most important to me is getting some clarity out of some players that we had these big question marks about. And I think, Kendall, this is why we're going to talk about tonight, but I think we got that. I think the player you had the biggest question mark about, and player I certainly had the biggest question mark about, was Justin Fields. And I know this statement, right? Like people say, oh, I need to wait a week to see it. I've said that many times. Here's the problem with waiting. One of 2 things happens. A, price either goes up. B, price is going to go down. So do you really want to be buying that player anyway? I think if you, quote unquote, want to wait a week to see it, hopefully you have some players like this on your roster, and now you feel good coming to the, the setting a lineup, whatever day you're setting a lineup, and getting those guys in your roster. So Justin Fields was QB2 in week 1. He was 16 for 28, which is resulted in 218 and 1. But look, his real value is, of course, in the rushing, and rushing can break fantasy. He had 12 attempts, which resulted in 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. Week 2, he gets Buffalo. I think nothing bad can happen for him for 2 reasons. One, it's either a shootout, or 2, Buffalo's blowing him out and they're going to have to keep up. Either way, Fields is going to have to throw and run. So I think you can safely start him now that you have him. If he's one of those guys in a super flex league that he was your third quarterback and you were hoping that it worked out for him, I think you can start him now. And if he looks good again in week 2, I think he becomes a plug and play. So my question to you really quickly, Kendall, before we move into your quarterback here is Justin Fields' ceiling realistically inside of a QB5 season?
Yeah. His ceiling definitely is. I'll take you by your specific letter of the law here and say you're saying QB5. We've pretty much always historically seen, guys like Kyler Murray and just very good rushing quarterbacks, right? Pretty much be able to get inside the top 5 when they're kind of at their ceiling here. Fields being at the upper end of that, rushing spectrum in terms of what he can do. I don't think we think their passing offense has this real he can rush for 1,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. But after seeing what we saw, that's up there, specifically in 4-point passing touchdown leagues too, where the rushing is just such a cheat code. A couple guys can add 15 to 20 here and there, but being able to add 50 rushing yards per game in some instances, and there's 4 quarterbacks that did it. It's just such a cheat code for what it does to your floor ceiling combo that week, and how it kind of just destroys the week in terms of who caught up on the competition and who didn't. So, look, I don't. Jalen Hurts didn't throw for a touchdown, right? Literally didn't throw for a touchdown. That happened. We're seeing stuff like that happen, and it's just rushing that's getting them over the line. Fields was doing fine. I think he had what was his yards per attempt were pretty phenomenal for a guy that we thought wasn't a good passer. So I think he's top 5.
It's funny you just brought up Hurts because I actually had him in here. I pulled up some stats. I'll take out his rookie season because he was kind of obviously in and out, but touchdowns, passing 16, 22, 23, 18. But he's always consistently finished inside the top 10 and more recently inside the top 5. So it's the rushing upside for me. So I agree with you. I don't think that Fields needs to throw 30 plus touchdowns. I think he can get there on the basis of 500, 600 rushing yards and 7 to 8 touchdowns. I think puts him in the conversation to be in that top 5. So quick question from Rafi here. Rafi asking, do you think Fields can actually be sustainable this year? In the past, he would put up 2 to 3 really good weeks and then disappear. I think that's what we're talking about right now. I mean, look, consistency is always the biggest challenge for any fantasy football player. I think there's 2 things that are going to be true on a weekly basis for the Jets. Number 1, I don't think they're very good. So as much as I like Sauce and I like a couple other pieces in the defense, Sauce got torched last week. And at the end of it all, I think the Jets are going to be playing catch up more than they're not. And Fields is going to run. So yeah, Rafi, I think he's going to be viable on a weekly basis as a plug and play. So Kendall, let's move on to your guy. I love it. I'm just going to say that, but Mike is yours. Who is a quarterback that you had some questions about that you think have been answered here by week 1?
Yeah. So mine's going to be Justin Herbert for sure. Just throwing the love at the guys that I've been a big fan of for a long time. So the guys I'm taking today are I guess probably long-term homer picks, but more specifically, I want to take folks that I had the criteria was at least I had watched pretty much every snap of the game they played and had been following them in the Dynasty streets for, more than a full year and a half off-season cycle. So I've been familiar with the market's underreaction or what have you to the volatile value curve of a Dynasty life cycle here. And, for Herbert's had an interesting ride in recent memory. It's been kind of a steady decline, right? There was not a great year, horrible playoff performance. Then there's the narrative that he loses all of his weapons. Remember that when that was the dominant Justin Herbert narrative of everyone's gone, right? They're all traded away. What's going to happen? QJ's a bust. There wasn't a lot of optimism around a lot of parts of the team. Herbert kind of was the optimism, but he was underperforming, and then he was hurt for kind of an entire year. There was just a lot going on. So his dynasty value, he was at this tier of he had such a name for such a long time that you couldn't quite kick him to like tier 3-4. He was always just out at the outskirts of tier 2, basically sitting like behind Mahomes and even behind Baker in some camps, if you will, sitting behind guys like Bo Nix. Most people put Bo Nix and Drake May ahead of Justin Herbert in a lot of the rookie drafts that the dynasty startups that I had seen. Right.
Yeah.
So that was the long-term narrative with Herbert. All of a sudden, week 1 comes and we see a couple things. One, it's pretty clear that to the coaching staff, he is the number one weapon for the team. They're going to build the offense around the number one weapon, and that's Herbert, right? We all thought as a community that they were going to be run first, super polarizing in just how much they run the ball because of the coaching tree history situation. I think what we see here is, yeah, maybe that was the plan, right? And then their offensive line gets a absolute shotgun taken to it, right? I mean, that's a real big loss that they had before even taking the first real snap. And so maybe they were going to be more run heavy, and all of a sudden they realize in training camp the way to move the sticks is going to be running through the air, because it doesn't seem like it mattered who he passed it to. If they were open, they got the ball, and they got a beautiful catchable spiral in stride. And I don't think we think any of these weapons are, fantastic outside of Ladd, who had a great game, by the way, being asked to play some different roles. He just was always open. And Ladd reminded me a lot of Amon-Ra when he really broke out for Detroit in that game. And when he was just always open, and Herbert just found him and completed a bunch of passes. So I don't know, getting back to Herbert, just to kind of wrap it up with him, for me, he's past Mahomes in Dynasty for me. Basically, he's just outside of the tier 2 of running backs or of quarterbacks. So you've got your elite rushing, plus they're in a great offense guys, right? We're usually calling them a top 4, Hurts being the 4th, Burrow usually going 5th in Dynasty. I'm saying right now, who's actually the better offense, the Chargers or Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals? I mean, just throwing that out there, but I think it could be the Chargers long-term when we look at it later on in the year. And if that's the case, Herbert's doing really good with some great weapons. I think he might potentially claim to Dynasty QB5 by the end of the year as my QB6 in Dynasty. Things look very good. 32 rushing yards, just enough to move the needle. Give me some Justin Herbert. Fire him up.
I mean, they play the Raiders this week. It's a winnable game. They could very easily start 2-0 with 2 division wins. So I think they looked great. Obviously, everybody outside of the city of Kansas City was rooting for them. So yeah, you like what you saw.
And that could be a barn burner, actually. Gino's playing some good ball too through 360 yards. That could be a game, actually.
I think it could be a good game. But I say it's a winnable game, right? Like you're not going on the road to Buffalo where you probably think Buffalo's going to win that game. I think you're playing a team that you can win. So we'll see how it goes. But let's move into the running back space, because these 2 names are, yay us, the perfect names that everybody needs to talk about.
Yeah.
Look, it's Javonte Williams for me. He was the RB5 in week 1. And let's pause there for 1 second, right? I'm watching this game. I've kind of got the goosebumps. Football starting, right? The kickoff. We get the injury on the kickoff. So then you kind of, your energy comes down a little bit. And then you see the flag get tossed and you go, what did I, because I was watching it in a bar in public, so I couldn't really hear it. There's the subtitles on, but whatever. I don't really read those anyway, And so it's like, I kind of have a sense of what's happening. And then all of a sudden I go, I think Jalen Carter's just spit. I think he's about to get ejected, which of course he does. So does Javonte score 2 touchdowns, 1 on the opening drive if Jalen Carter's in there? I don't know. But this is, again, why we're talking about him, because Jalen Carter wasn't there. He goes 15 for 54 with 2 touchdowns. Cowboys get the Giants in week 2, so they have a great defensive line. We know about the pass rush. We know what that looks like, but they just gave up 133 yards on 20 attempts and a rushing touchdown to the Commanders to Bill. So it's I think the Giants defense will get better throughout the season, but it's early. The Cowboys, they didn't trade for Tank Bigsby. They have not been in the mix for another running back. Miles Sanders had 4 attempts, one of which was a fumble. It's Javonte's show. It's the volume was low, right? 15 rushing attempts, same as Omarion Hampton. Omarion Hampton is a rookie on a much better team that wants to run the ball first. But it was 68% of those running attempts. all went through him. So my question to you is, I put Javonte on the block immediately because I don't believe long-term Javonte is the answer for the Cowboys, and I don't believe long-term that Javonte is going to get back to the levels that we saw his rookie season for the Broncos. I will say this. No one has made me an offer for him, which makes me believe that the league also feels that way. However, it may be one of those blessings in disguise, and this is why we're having this conversation. What do you do with Javonte Williams if he has a similar stat line against the Giants this weekend?
If he has a similar stat line?
We're talking Dynasty. If he's got, let's say he goes 15 for 78 and 1. So let's give him 20 more yards and take away one of the touchdowns, which still probably scoring-wise puts him relatively close to where he finished last week. 4-point delta, if my math is right off the top of my head.
Sure. I think there's two challenges there, right? There is he is an archetype at that point, and probably now, but even specifically at that point where he does this again, another inefficient 2 scores, sort of middling number, good for fantasy, poor when you look at it in the box score, to some extent.
Yep.
He's going to be worth more on the roster that he's on, assuming it's competing, than he is in a trade. And you can extrapolate that further by saying it's just generally poor form to be buying a running back early in the year. Yep. Because they're the most volatile. You don't know when you need them until you know you need them, but you need to be in week 10 knowing that you're going to hit the playoffs or have a chance to. Not enough has played out. So probably a savvy league in that even if it's a good buy, you should probably wait to know more information about your lineup.
Yeah.
So that's why, even if I thought it was a nice player to buy right now, it's sort of a tough click. You're clearly selling high, and I just think it's one of those just weird inverse values where normally when a player hits the market, the whole idea is someone's trying to cash in on an exit and have that be the high point. And this is just a situation where I don't think you're gonna get that until someone really needs them, and no one's gonna really need him until week 10. So I think you got to hold.
I agree. I mean, I think, like I said, it could be a blessing in disguise. Now, I will say it's the only roster that I have him, and it's a rebuild, so I'm looking to get a pick out of it. But I think you and I are in the group chat, right? I think the common thread that I heard from a lot of different people was, damn, Javonte's on my bench. Nobody had the guts to start him. So it didn't matter. He could have been the overall RB1 on the week. He was on your bench. So, but look, I do think he's a player to at least keep an eye on because we saw so much in Denver that we loved, and it's been a while since we've seen it, and the situation is right for him. So like you said, maybe later in the season we're talking about him again when we bring up some more, deep dive into the trade market. Obviously, as a Dynasty show, we will get deeper into that as the season progresses. Let's transition over to your player because...
Yeah, so let's talk about some Breece Hall. I wanted to talk about him because I think you and we've traded for him in multiple leagues, and we've traded for him during the Breece and Gibbs close neck and neck days, right? Yep. And we said, hey, I believe in this running back, and I'm going to put my wallet, and we bought that, right? I also think we've both continued to believe and saw a dip in the market and bought when he was much cheaper. And this sort of, the Jets are gross, everything attached to them is gross or gets bad. Same thing the Bears had going on for years, and have seen through that to some extent. And man, was it fun to see that on Sunday. Oh my goodness, was it fun. I mean, right out the gate, you didn't get past the first quarter. And if you were watching that game, if that was the game that was on in your house, you were glued to the screen waiting to see what Breece Hall was going to do next, because he could break it at any second. Every time he touched the ball, it was magic. It was after contact. It wasn't just, he ran and then he got tackled. It was dynamic runs. It was, I didn't catch the ball a ton, but when he did, it was fantastic. 100% of the running back targets and catches, because there were only 4 of them, but he got them, right? Yep. And I mean, my goodness, just looked fantastic. His explosiveness was just on point there. He was moving the chains for him, was doing all the things. Amazing stat line. So 19 carries for 170 yards, 5.63 yards per carry, which is fantastic when you're not breaking off a 60-yarder. I mean, he did have some long ones there, but he was gaining chunk plays and then catching 2 for 4 for 38 yards, right? Just a quick little, adding 5.8 PPR, just toss that in there really quick. Yeah, I'm in. Here's the thing: we all thought he was going to be a committee back.
Yep.
But the NFL has kind of moved towards no one gets crazy touches anymore, right? Jameer Gibbs can barely get a 60% snap share, right? RJ Harvey might never get to a 60% snap share, and you still got to see what he had some sauce there on that big long run. It's just one of those things where if they're going to be committee backs for the most part, you need all the valuable touches, and you can't overinvest in these plotters who are just like the James Connors of the world are less valuable than they used to. They're still valuable. They're in the 3rd and 4th round, not the 2nd round anymore, because you need more dynamic touches in the NFL. That's how modern NFL offenses work. And he got those valuable touches, and he's going to continue to get them. Justin Fields better at quarterback, the potential to actually come back on teams, and I think a chance to definitely do more in the pass game too. Yeah. Fire up Breece Hall in the Dynasty community. Here's the great thing. He's good right now, but if they suck, if all of a sudden Justin Fields gets a little turnover happy, they can't throw him the ball as much. Let's just say he has one good game in the next 3 games, and we're talking about other players, and it's the game that we were happy and then forgot about. As in the Dynasty community, I'm going to remember because he passed the eye test, not the box score test. He is a good player, clearly removed from injury when he gets traded, and he might not anymore. But if and when he does, I think he's going to be fantastic wherever he goes. If there's a mid-season trade to Dallas of all places or something along those lines, the talent's there. The talent's there for him to be Saquon Barkley and to the Eagles. Like he still has oops, I'm traded, and now I'm a top 2-3 running back in the entire NFL. I think that's still there, and I'm happy to see the Jets doing better. So, yep.
Yeah, I love it. I would just say this one thing, and we'll move to wide receivers because this has always been one of my quote-unquote rules. I always bet on the player, not the situation, because in the inverse of that, right, we've seen great players go to poor situations. We could see kind of meh places, right? Players go to good situations and they don't produce because it's a meh player. I want the top tier players, and the situation, sure, it can elevate their ceiling or lower their floor a little bit, but like you said, at the end of the day, I'm going to bet on Breece more than I am going to bet on Breece as a Jet. Wide receivers, there's 2 of them here I think we want to talk about. Look, this is a Dynasty show, which is why I'm bringing this player up, because in Dynasty, you need players like this on your roster. I know he's the hot waiver wire now named this week in Redraft, and fine, but listen to obviously I love my stats, so listen to some of my social proof here of why I'm bringing him up. But it's Cedric Tillman. Right. And here's the thing. 5 for 8 last week translates to 52 and a touchdown, puts him at wide receiver 17 on the week. If he doesn't score the touchdown, you're probably disappointed. But the 8 targets is what's encouraging for me, because Jerry Jeudy, who is very clearly the number 1 wide receiver in this offense, was also 5 for 8. He goes for 72 and 0. So it's an even split with Tillman just getting the score. Now we'll talk about him, spoiler alert, in a little bit. Harold Fannin, who actually was the leading receiving target earner for the entire team. But it's Joe Flacco, who loves to throw the ball. And every year, Joe Flacco has between 2 and 6 weeks that really helps your team. He's 25 years old, so that's a little concerning for a guy that's only a second-year player. But look, there's not much else in Cleveland at the wide receiver position. Isaiah Bond went 1 for 5. Dylan Sampson caught 8 passes, and I think Dylan Sampson going to retain his role even when Judkins comes back, which could be this week. But when you're in a dynasty league and there is no waiver wire, the bench is your waiver wire. I want to ask you this question, Kendall, because this is the question that I'll be honest, I had to start him last week. It's a 3 wide receiver set. I've made some trades. My team is insanely top heavy, so I just don't have any depth. I started him in my main dynasty league. You know that roster. That's the Bijan, Gibbs, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, you got the running backs.
I got that team's just. But here, in a dynasty format, especially in a 3 wide or in a double flex, can you plug Cedric Tillman in as a weekly flex play? I think that's the question we need to ask here.
I don't want to, and I think this is one of those ones to watch a little bit more when I say that, I'm nervous specifically about like, I don't want to follow the trend next week, but I would believe it immediately at and following next week. Here's
Yep.
why. There was sort of the weird, they had a lot of 12 personnel going. There
Yep.
was the who's their real tight end one, right? Like, no, they just ran a lot of 12 personnel. So, lot of stuff, going on there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you see in chat. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I just had to check that. I was like, yeah, we're gonna
Yeah,
check, make sure
you got too much of a reputation there, Philly Mike.
we are getting trolled in the chat about Brock Purdy, but this is a wide receiver segment. Let's keep going.
I love him so much there. But no, look, I think the answer is yes. We just got to see how run happy they're going to be, and how the targets need to be able to be volatile is what I'm saying. And Flacco is not the type of guy that's going to be like, oh no, I need to throw to my one and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, no, Flacco's the old veteran who's just out there just wanting to sling the rock. You know what I mean? He's got no loyalty to anybody other than like, can you get open and can you do what I want to do? Right. And I think Tillman's totally like, yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, I definitely think you can start him. I think the only challenge is he's probably tied to the pass attempts. Like, I don't think he can perform well in a game where the pass attempts are there, but we're just going to see that play out over the season. If the Browns are in a limit the pass attempts, keep the game hyper close, try to run it 30 plus times, I think you lower yourself to a ceiling where you'd rather take the dart throw deep ball Calvin Austin, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But if they're saying we're not winning a Super Bowl this year, Flacco, you're going to throw, here's our social contract to you. You're going to go out there, you're going to throw the rock 40 times, have some fun kids, sell some tickets. Let's see what happens. If he's going to have at least 25 completions a game, then yeah, I think he's pretty startable.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think my outlook on him again, when your bench in Dynasty is your waiver wire, I think there's a lot worse options. You can go and find a flex or even a start from Tedrick Tillman and go and see what the cornerback shadow report looks like. So let's move on. I know you've got a great wide receiver to talk about here, and someone that that I historically, not very long historically, because he's only been in the league 1 year, but I historically have been very in on. So I was very happy to see this, but tell us what you got going on at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, let's talk about Keon Coleman, guys. So archetypal, he kind of fits the early day 2 NFL pick, like what's become like the 30th pick to like the 36th pick in the draft. Basically, there's that range of, he's a wide receiver, but there's a reason he slid. He didn't slide, but he doesn't go like in the top 10 picks. Raw prospect, but good, freakish, and he goes to one of the best offenses I've ever seen, right? He's raw. Things don't start out as well. I think most of the community had kind of labeled Keon an almost perpetual bust a little bit early. It just felt like it's the Mark Andrews thing from just the other day. It's like, your team's putting up this many points. How are you not like doing something with it? It's why Kincaid is so hard to forgive and why we almost didn't draft him at all this year, even though like he fits the profile of, you're going to throw a dart. Why not throw a dart on the Buffalo Bills, #1 offense? And we still couldn't do it. Right. It was like, yeah, but I should see some pop, and we didn't see it enough last year. And I think that's when we're like, all right, go give me Mims over this kid, because at least I've seen Mims score a deep touchdown. I think we all forgot that there's this, kids can develop. He needed a training camp to develop. He always was freakish, but raw. And I think we see a guy who had some mixed camp reports, but like there were very real good ones. There were he had some mistakes, right? Here's the thing. He comes out, he plays a ridiculous amount of snaps, puts himself in a winning situation, and Allen throws him the rock a bunch. This is a guy who had some drops, had some bad routes, and he goes, 8 for 11? You don't go 8 for 11 in the NFL if you're not in the right spot with good awareness. CeeDee Lamb didn't go 8 for 11. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
There are good wide receivers. He just straight up outperformed when he needed to. He was also just a part of one of the game of the year, hands down, right?
Yep.
Who decides who plays? Coaches. What do coaches like? A good kid with a good story who just put his head down, did the work, and showed the hell up for them in the game, right? There's no way he's not 80% plus the rest of the year. right? For sure. He's the guy right now. If he wasn't the guy, he's the guy right now today until he doesn't, until he decides I don't want to be the guy anymore. Josh Allen's never going to decide, you know what, today's not the day to put up 30 points. They could be, playing a nothing team and they're still going to want to put up 30 and they're going to put up, that amount of offense. So I like him. What's not talked about too much is that his touchdown was a super fluke, right? But keep in mind, he had two 2-point conversions that were thrown his way that didn't happen. So that could have bolstered him quite a bit. Also, that's a big coach, quarterback. They're throwing the key on Coleman in all the high leverage situations.
Confidence.
Right. So he's the guy, right? Yeah. Shakir's hit a ceiling. Palmer's great. I had him as kind of a mini sleeper. An offense that puts up 400 passing yards a game sometimes. They're all going to eat. But he might be like the stereotypical year 2 breakout kid, just wakes up one day and he's like, I guess I'm the one today. And that's why you took him in a draft. Honestly, you took him in a draft not even because you think he'd be the one. The crazy thing is we drafted him. If you drafted him as a sleeper, your take was probably, Shakir's just kind of and there's a lot of yards to go around. That was the take, right? The take was great offense. He'll be a part of it. The fact is his breakout is actually even bigger than like the upside case that we saw for him. And it was just fortunate for him that the opponent was worthy of a 81 point brawl. So yeah, sign me up. I'm starting him the rest of the year. He's not a must-have starter. I want to see how the offense plays out, but I think he's the guy. I'm in.
Well, I'll say this. Just pulled a board. I had the 101 in as a 10-team league, so keep that in mind. No keeper, straight redraft. I got Keon Coleman at the turn in the 11th round in a start 2 wide receivers with double flex. My starting receivers on this team are Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Tedoroa McMillan, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Waddle. So Keon Coleman is my wide receiver 6. Whew. So I actually didn't start him last week because of those other names, and it cost me a win. Now, having seen the Dolphins, Waddle's going on my bench for sure, and now I'm taking a real hard look this week at some matchups with Tedoroa McMillan, Devonta Smith, and I'm very seriously considering Keon Coleman above both of them. So perfect timing here as we will get into a super chat from Nino Pena before we get into the tight ends. Nino, appreciate you being a fan of the show and appreciate the super chat here. Nino would like to know, I'm assuming this is a trade question. Nino, if you are still here, can you give us the league size and the format, please? That would be helpful, half or full PPR. But he wants to know Gibbs plus AJ. I'm assuming that's AJ Brown plus Monty. So basically both Detroit running backs and AJ Brown, or Tracy for I see.
Monty or Tracy, one of the
Monty
two.
or Tracy, one of the two for Jamar Chase, Etienne, and Pollard.
Ooh.
I think the format makes a difference here.
You think the PPR, you talking about 3 wide receiver?
I'm talking about 3 wide receiver.
Etienne, Pollard. Ooh. Oh. I got to do like some trade math here.
12-man, full PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 runners, 3 receivers, double flex.
Just standard competitive deep with the 3 and 2.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out like Jamar's total value, even just discounting Etienne and Pollard in like just pure trade currency versus Gibbs. It's like AJ's the weird one because AJ used to be AJ Brown, and now
I know
after week 1 and an off season in last season, like how much can you go get AJ Brown? We're starting to talk about AJ Brown because his value has fallen so much to where we're like, well, don't we buy him then if he's so cheap? But he has to get so cheap to have that conversation. No, is anyone paying a first rounder for him anymore?
No, I wouldn't.
Right, because he was basically 2 late firsts. Now he's barely like, okay, if you're contending and you know your team is gonna make the finals because that's how confident you are, you're still like, okay, I guess I'll buy AJ Brown. So AJ Brown's worth a late first at best.
Oh, this changes it for me.
Oh, the current roster?
Current roster is JT, Kyron, Etienne, and Pollard, and Jamar, Sutton, DJ Moore, Buka, Keenan. So he's so Nino has Jamar Chase.
He has Jamar Chase in the 3 wide receiver.
So I'll tell you this.
You're saying his team is too good to add the other 2 pieces and still make use. Yeah, I think I see what you mean.
I was going to take the Jamar Chase side of this trade because of what we just saw from Etienne, and Pollard is fine. Because the difference to me is this. Jamar Chase's ceiling over A.J. Brown's ceiling is night and day. Whereas Etienne, I think Etienne is going to have minus, I'm not going to say the words out loud, but if Monty becomes the guy, I don't think unless Monty becomes the guy, I think Etienne has a higher ceiling than Monty does, especially now with the Bigsby trade.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trade Jamar Chase away. I would stick with what you got. If you really have JT and Kyron with Etienne and Pollard, you can win this league. Jamar Chase, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore, Mecca Buka, Keenan Allen.
DJ Moore's like a year away from just being a guy. Like I'm thinking
Correct.
2-3 year window. Like DJ Moore could maybe have a good season this year, and we're already at could.
So let's settle it with this.
So you're a Jamar Buka. Like Sutton's good, but Knicks looked like shit. And honestly, I think that is a lower ceiling than you think with Sutton. So that could be Jamar Buka for like a high end like league winning team, right? It's Jamar Buka and then JT Kyron, right? Those are your like key pieces.
Yep. But you just said it. In 2 years, DJ Moore could just be a guy. In 2 years, AJ Brown could be just a guy. Monty will probably.
I'll put it this way: if I did the trade and picked up the Gibbs side, I would be looking to sell AJ Brown as soon as it made sense.
Agreed.
You can't sell him for a pick if you're contending, because why would you give up production for a pick?
Correct.
Right? You wouldn't. So you'd have to flip him for a down tier plus like a second next year, which is still kind of difficult. Interestingly enough, like I would do that side of the trade if I could definitely trade AJ Brown away for Keon Coleman and a second, probably maybe a second and a third.
I'll raise you this: I would take AJ and Monty in that trade and put them together for something, not just Brown, because you've got Kyron, you've got JT.
Yeah, okay. You know what?
At that point, you would have Gibbs, JT, and Kyron.
I'm with you. There's no way you can sell. Your whole point is like, by the time the offseason hits, Monty might not be tradable, and AJ Brown might not be as tradable as you think, and Gibbs is the only liquid asset. And at that point, you've basically you've traded
Jamar Chase.
Etienne and Pollard, that's a legitimate thing. I mean, you're flipping them for two other guys, but is this just a Gibbs versus Jamar conversation at the end of the day, and the whole?
I think it's a Jamar plus Etienne for Gibbs conversation. That's the argument I'm making. That's the side that I'm on right now today, especially after the Tank Bigsby trade.
Good. He's got a year left. Man.
All right.
Yep. All right. 3 wide receivers. If it was 2, I'd try to fight back at you, Phil, a little bit. But in 3 wide, you know how hard it is. Me and you have had some super teams, but getting 3 great wide receivers healthy at the same time in one, it's difficult, man.
Let's talk about some tight ends. It's fun to talk about the sexiest of sexy players, but we got to talk about some positions that unfortunately we still need, even if you are not in a tight end premium league. Let's talk about Harold Fannin Jr. He was 7 for 9, 63 yards, no touchdown, but he did leave emphasis on all Cleveland pass catchers in targets. Like you said earlier, going to be more 12 personnel, and Njoku was still involved. But look, Harold Fannin Jr. in Dynasty is probably on your taxi squad.
He literally is on 9 of you places.
Yeah, I don't think he's on your waiver wire, and if he is, go check and get his ass immediately. But I don't think that he is. I think it's more likely than not he's on your taxi squad. So if you lost George Kittle this week, or if you are just sick and tired of Mark Andrews, I would go try and actually trade for Fannin, because here's why. I don't think the price is going to go down. I think it's going to go up. We just talked about it. Flacco, there's not a huge target earner on there. If Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman, it's only been 1 week, but Flacco, you said it a couple minutes ago, Kendall, Flacco has no loyalty to these receivers. Flacco's there to just do a job until they can figure out if Shador, Dylan Gabriel. See, I can't remember the freaking kid's name. He has 2 first names. That's the parents' fault.
That's what gets me in
judgment there. But if Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders have anything, right? But the reality is that the Browns should have beaten the Bengals, and they didn't. It's probably another Browns season where if Myles Garrett misses time, they're picking early again, and they're probably picking another freaking quarterback. So I think Harold Fannin's range of outcomes is again, this isn't, take this with a grain of salt because it is what it is, but I think his range of outcomes is a top 8 tight end season. Now, that's not good unless you're finishing in the top 3, but we've seen veterans who are established, who have contracts that are not on rookie deals, finish inside the top 8, and they're not usable. We don't want them, right? Oh, excuse me, finish outside of the top 8. Some of them finish outside the top 12. Dallas Goedert, I think, was tight end 13. Kate On, it was Kate On. I just looked at it. Kate On was tight end 13 last year and has his best year of his career. That's not going to win you anything. So I would start with 2/3 for Harold Fannin. It'll probably get kicked back to you. But I think if you could get him for 2/3, it's a smash deal. My question to you really quickly, sort of a yes/no, is would you offer a mid second, not a late second, because I would do it for a late second. But if you're a middle of the table team, you're in that like 5 to 8 range of your league, 12-team league, I wouldn't do it for an early second. I think the value's so, though. That's my question.
The answer to both is no, but because it's a stylistic mistake this time of the year. The idea is, what owner of the now productive Fannin, right? Because you, again, like you said, most people benched or taxied him, right? But that owner now has a productive, playable, startable, flexible, that guy that only gets better. You might, but now so you have to like him more than that guy likes him, right? Now he drafted him, so he'll also be buying more into the confirmation bias of I drafted him, so I'm into him.
That's fair.
So now your take has to be stronger than his, right? Normally, this is where you have to diverge what you're selling, right? This has to be, do you need production or do you need picks? Based on the time of year, they need production. So if you're investing in Fannin, you have to be, you more than likely want to be a team that's not competing, because you can sell production and it doesn't cost you, right? If you're a team that's competing, you're investing in I can play him now, but I'm also going to play him later. But I'm saying it's going to cost you. Take the previous trade that we were talking about with Nino. It's going to cost you like a productive vet. It's going to cost you the Monty.
Yeah.
In order to get him, type of a thing. And the idea is, if you're the team that's win now, can you afford it? I think that's the question. If the answer is, my team's good enough that I can afford a luxury, that now Monty or a late second, right? I think that's where most people say he is. Most people would take the mid second over Monty, but the late second hasn't sounded too favorable. So I think most people take the production.
Yeah.
I think the idea is, if you can give up the production, it's a good trade, and I would do it. Just make sure you can give it up. You know me, I think in longer term windows. So I'm always going to have enough where I can piece together an RB2 level of production. But I do think you have to get, you can't just, you could offer 3/3 and you still would get no's, because that guy is still just saying, yeah, but I just don't want to be thinking about thirds right now. I want to be thinking about today and tomorrow. So trade production away. If anything, you're going to have to at least do a 2-for-1, a third plus a piece. Like, can you trade Ferguson and a third for him? Yeah, or Ferguson for him straight up? Maybe. Right? You know, could you something along those lines? I think makes some sense. We'd have to theory craft it a bit more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to get it too long and too deep into the weeds, but a name that just quickly popped into my head was like, would you do Hunter Henry in a second for Fannin? Do you think that?
Yeah,
that I think is probably closer to getting it done.
You're competing, so you're hoping this is a late second, and I like Fannin for a late second after seeing this game for sure. Yeah, that's a great trade. Or I'm looking to tier down, right? I think that's harder to do with how good he looked, but I would I think there's some logic to like a Sam Laporta tier down into him, where you're the one that gets the pick plus Fannin and all of his appreciation. I like the tier up better if you can pull it off for sure.
Agreed. Let's talk about one more guy, and then we will we'll move into two new segments of the show this year.
All right. I'll do like the opposite of yours then. So this is it's a dynasty show, right? So I'm always talking about guys that are pretty young here. I'm gonna throw out Juwan Johnson. I'm a big fan of his, and all of a sudden just the stars align for him to be relevant for a little while. This is a dynasty show, not redraft, though. So why am I talking about a guy who was almost droppable after last year? Here's why. Combine a couple of takes here. One, when you want to do a deal at tight end, like let's say you want to cash out on a tight end, okay? You typically need someone else there, and because that person's not very good, you usually need two. dart throws to at least start. You're not going to sell your great tight end just to throw Chigakonkwo out there.
Right.
You got to at least have Chig plus somebody else. God forbid something happens, right? So the value of picking up startable tight end assets for nearly free is valuable in and of itself because it allows you to make some moves and just be liquid, right? It's a piece that I tend to like to do when it's nearly free, just because you can always sell it at a value too if you need to. And so what I'm saying is I think you can get Juwan Johnson for basically free. I mean, after that week, it's going to be a little bit more tough. But here's the thing. Why did he have this week that he just had? Because he was just the tight end 1 on the week. That just happened. So here's what. Kellen Moore loves the slot, right? Every Kellen Moore offense always has a pretty good slot. He made CeeDee Lamb into who CeeDee Lamb is today because of using him in the slot, right? What else do we know about Kellen Moore-led offenses? They are high tempo, right? They typically are always in the top half, if not the top 20, 25% of the league in pace of play, right? They're going to get off 65 plays. So Kellen Moore likes the slot. Kellen Moore likes to play a lot of snaps. That's way more throws than I thought. What's his face? Well, Spencer Rattler. Did you think Spencer Rattler was going to throw 45 balls? I
didn't think Spencer Rattler was going to be in the game for 100% of the snaps. I thought they were going to rotate quarterbacks. So no,
yeah.
I mean it's chaos down there.
So you've got and so here's the thing: you've got a converted wide receiver who became tight end, right? But he ran a route. I think 96. It was 96. I was looking at it on PFF. 96%. I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. Of routes.
Yep, I saw that same stuff.
Now remember, last 4 or 5 games of last season. Okay. This is the Taysom Hill injury, right? Mm-hmm. So Taysom Hill's gone. He was being utilized a decent amount. His route participation was 80% plus every single game to end the season, and he went on a decent little run there. Okay, now all of a sudden, you have him able to be in the slot because you can have Shaheed be the X and stretch it, right? Or you can throw Olave out there if you want to, and they were kind of mixing that up a little bit. So when you combine that, basically you have a converted wide receiver in your slot in a team that's projected to lose every single game this season, right? Yep. You tell him, and that's tight end. So you get the oops, I fell into the end zone because we have to. You also get the over the middle of the field because no one else is open, and how many hospital balls can we really afford to throw Olave in a year we're throwing away, right? Mm-hmm. Probably not too many. This is a tight end who's completely garbage, throwaway. You can buy him for any third ever, and I think that's an overpay, right? You can probably do a 3-4 swap if you wanted to, and I think those are close enough in value that I would probably do that. Okay. And you're going to get a lot of 8 to 10 target games. They're going to be a lot of 6-7 catch for 55 yards. You're not going to see some huge games. But that is massive at tight end outside of the oops, I fell into the end zone, right? He scored more fantasy points than Kincaid, who did fall into the end zone. So for me, it's a bet on Kellen Moore. The team will be playing from behind. They just paid him to be the tight end for at least the next 2 years. They gave him the bag for 3 years, right? But you're going to draft a rookie next year or the next year who will 100%. Take a year to develop. But I'm saying, and this is Dynasty, he's going to be the guy on a losing team for the next 2 years with an offensive system that's designed to use the slot and doesn't have other weapons and probably needs to use its top picks on probably quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't forget the cap situation. I mean, that's the caveat. That's the silver spoon, right? The cap situation in New Orleans is atrocious. So if you can get 2 years out of Johnson and go focus elsewhere, I love it. So well done, Kendall. Those are our players that we would like to talk about. New segment coming here to the show tonight. Kendall, if you want to, you can time me on this. I want to see how I do. But this is called the 2-minute drill. And I'm going to go through 4 things that I am looking for here in week 2, because it's very possible we are talking about some of these players next week. So 2-minute drill, 4 things I'm looking for. Number 1, of course, the most obvious, Kinshawn Judkins. If he plays, what does it look like? I am not expecting a flex-worthy start this week, but does he look explosive? What is the pass-catching role? Because Dylan Sampson caught 8 balls. What is his straight line speed? And is this a preview of what we can expect, or is he going to ramp up slowly into his role? I'm looking at the Houston Texans this week. They looked bad. The offensive line was a mess, and it wasn't just that the Rams defense was good. CJ Stroud looked like Patrick Mahomes running for his life in that Super Bowl. So what is that impact going to be on Nico? What is that impact going to be, more importantly, on Jaden Higgins? Because we are expecting a breakout for Jaden Higgins. So they're playing Tampa this week. That's a good pass rush. Vita Vea is a run stuffer. I do think they're going to have to throw the ball. So I need to see what that looks like for Nico, obviously being established, but for Jaden Higgins, obviously we really want to see as a rookie. This category is called sustainability in week 1 stars. I am looking at Zay Flowers, obviously wide receiver on number 1 overall on the week, but does he stay hot? We know that Baltimore can be a very run-heavy team. They do pass a ton, but it historically has been spread around. So what does Flowers look like? We talked about Keon Coleman tonight, had a huge breakout performance in week 1. The targets should be there again, but will he be this is what I'm really looking for. Is he the focal point in the red zone area, and are the touchdowns going to start to flow his way? Because I believe in Keon Coleman. I've always believed in Keon Coleman. If he has an outlier touchdown season, he is a sneaky top 12 finisher, certainly a wide receiver 2 on the year. Travis Etienne, we talked about the trade of Tank Bigsby briefly, but I believe that firmly cements his RB1 status, and it should cement his majority snap percentage over Bashal Tutin. Daniel Jones, I can't believe he's on this show sheet, but we have to at least pay attention, because does he stay hot and become stream worthy? And number 2, is he a starter for you in Superflex leagues? I can't believe I just said that, but we have to find ways to win, guys. This show is about winning you championships, and it doesn't always have to be sexy. We need to win championships. So is it back to Daniel Jones, or is it Daniel Jones? Kyle Pitts went 7 for 8, 50 yards, no touchdowns, but he looked better. Mooney missed week 1. Does he play in week 2? And what does Kyle Pitts' target share look like? And finally, my Eagles wide receivers, A.J. Brown, 1 target, 8 yards, which came in the fourth quarter. He probably lost you the week. Devonta Smith was 3 for 3 for 16 yards, no touchdown. They're playing Kansas City in week 3 with a great defense. The game's in KC. Of course, it's a revenge game for the Super Bowl loss, so do not expect another repeat blowout performance. What does a target share look like? And is this another game where Hurts takes the touchdowns, or does Goddard or Dotson get a receiving touchdown, which kills the Eagles wide receivers? That's probably 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes on my 2-minute drill. So maybe I can clean a little bit of it up. It's a new
Kept
segment.
it under 3, which is pretty impressive, I think.
But those are the things that I'm looking for here in going into week 2 and how that's going to impact us in a dynasty format. So
good segment,
last new segment.
I'd pay
you.
some money for that. That's
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A little old school, like a watch guide.
Yeah, we gotta. I mean, look, we can't just sit here and talk about trading Jamar Chase every week. That's just not realistic in a dynasty league. We've got to talk about things we're looking at, because we still have to you have to treat dynasty like it's still a season. It's not a redraft league, but it is a seasonal league. You have to make sure that you've got the highest value and the highest outcome ceiling performances. You just don't have the opportunity to go on a waiver wire. Your bench is your waiver wire. You got to stream from it. So this is a silly thing. I never thought I would say this sentence, but it is very possible. Let's just say you have a massively incredible wide receiver room. Some people do. I would seriously consider not starting A.J. Brown if it looks like this again. He's going to get 1 target. You and I were talking backstage about, can you drop in redraft? Can you drop Mark Andrews? And we both said yes. I was putting in my couple of leagues, I was putting waiver claims in right before this show, and I asked you a couple of different names to drop Mark Andrews to grab guys off of the waiver wire. No one 2 years ago would have. I would have been laughed out of this podcast if you had said, "Yeah, sure, you could drop Mark Andrews." You would have thought I was crazy. So you still have to treat Dynasty as a seasonal league, because it is. Last new segment, Kendall, and you are the feature of this one this week. This is the extra point. We're going to do trade of the week as our extra point, and I want to talk about a trade that you did in one of our leagues here. You traded to acquire Travis Hunter, sending away Brashard Smith, Isaac Tesla, and a 2026 first-round pick.
Not my own.
Talk us through it.
Okay, so the premise of the trade, I was trying to push my team in one of 2 directions. Either I wanted, the auction did not go, I didn't really plan it a lot. Actually, I had a lot going on, and I didn't I strategized for a little bit, and then I didn't really finish a lot of my sheets. So it went very averse to what I normally like to do with my auction. So I'm like, all right, I already hate the team. Let's win in the draft and in the trade market with a bunch of really competitive folks. I know I'm not going to like rob anybody. That's not going to happen, right? But I'm going to have to find divergent values where I'm just a lot higher and willing to like die on that hill higher. I need to find someone that I can be right on, someone that I can say, this guy's a 2 first round picks guy, but they're going for one. You got to be able to flag plant and that kind of stuff, right? My team is also looking probably more like I want to do. And it's how I often play Dynasty. I want to do that year 0, year 1 rebuild where I sell a couple studs that I like now, but I don't love forever, or tear down a little bit. We spend so much time, we're Dynasty guys in the draft and really nailing picks and using draft picks in a max 3+ year window value way, right? So we're over the course of a long time just accruing picks. You can just spin picks up in value infinitely. I can sell. Right. I can sell a late second for a random second the following year almost every time. Right. And you can create infinite value if you play for infinite years that way. So here's the strategy. I didn't use my pick because I tiered someone up on Patrick Mahomes. I traded him for CJ Stroud, got some picks. Right. So I think he's going to have a better year. His team was already looking good, and I think he was making moves where his team was probably going to continue to get at least moderately better. So I'm projecting him as safely as not a late first, but I'm just going to say second half. It's a 12-team league, so I don't think it'll be any earlier than the 107. It could go wrong, but I think it's probably second half pick, right? And so I was starting to target a couple of guys who are in the category of, if I'm right. If I'm wrong, I think I'm probably wrong small. But if I'm right, I think I could be right in a disproportionate way. I just have to find the timing, because you got to throw a trade offer on certain players at the right time, right? Too soon after a big game and they know exactly what you're coming for, and they're going to either tax you to high heaven, right? Or they're just going to not do it. They want to tell their friends they turned such and such down because that's how much they're into so-and-so's breakout, right? Too late and they're in the middle of the breakout, right? You know what I mean? And they're literally on the same team, but it's like BTJ had a window where you could go get him. And then 2 weeks later, he was like 2 firsts away. It was just infinitely away at that point. So Hunter's a guy I believe in for a couple of reasons. I won't go down the full profile, but for me, it was just really simply a guy that a young GM trades literally his and his entire team's future away for, has made him the guy, has made him the front page headlines in an entire country, right? Like, you put yourself on the map with this guy, right? He's going to be in the news cycle. He's going to be the guy forever, right? Unless he's just bad at football, he's going to have every opportunity outside of injury to be good. And I think he's actually really, really good at football. And I don't love Trevor Lawrence, especially after that week, but I saw some things happen. I said, hey, I think we're at a period of time where the news on Hunter has not been like, oh man, he's the guy. Okay. So I think there's a window where Hunter's not sexy anymore. We're post-draft Hunter. I think more people were really in on Hunter in the draft process because there's something to talk about. And then Tet started to get talked up, and Tet and camp, and it's all about Tet. And all of a sudden, Hunter isn't as sexy. I wanted to find a buy window on a player that I think is still just as sexy as when people were taking him, basically at the 102. And I think I bought that I like Tesla, but they did just extend their wide receiver 2 and Amon-Ra's locked up, and Laporta's not going anywhere. So unless they have the best offense in the history of football, he is going to be a third, and Gibbs is there.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he climbs up over Laporta and gets Laporta's red zone touches, which I think he could, you're still not nothing. You're still basically a Dallas Goedert to that offense at wide receiver. Like, you're probably just not going to ever be a huge thing. So Tesla, I think he's going to be cool. I just don't think he's going to be amazing. So Tesla's going for over a second at this point, and I wouldn't pay a second rounder for Tesla. So I'm like, okay, I can sell him at a second rounder's value fair. I think he's worth less. Brashard Smith, okay, fine. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the chances that someone else becomes the Brashard Smith before Brashard Smith does is probably high, in my opinion. And there's just too many guys. So I got Hunter for a first and what I might call like a late second and a third, basically, but throwaways, because I think I can do more with a late second than anybody can, because I get to take my guy with it. This was me saying I will never trade for a player of his talent with more draft capital, so I'm going to do this deal. I don't think I overpaid. I don't think I underpaid, but I do think that Hunter is pretty clearly going to be worth 2+ firsts by the end of this year. So that, I don't know, that was my explanation. That's why I did the trade. I'm super in on Hunter. I needed to find a way to win some damn value. And I wanted to find a way to combine what I think is a later first with assets that on a winning team, I'll never start. Now I could trade them for some value, and I want to turn a later first and some assets that I don't ever want to start ideally, and turn them into what I think is a player that was historically actually still worth like 2 firsts, and can grow from there.
I like it. Well, that was the extra point. Even though the show's title is the extra point, that's our new segment, the extra point. Love it. I think just really quickly, Isaac Tesla, it's tough, right? 10 targets for Gibbs last week. Like you said, they just
He
extended.
got the touchdown though. Like,
yeah, but
the thing with Tesla is like, what if he ends up being a 3 to 4 target, but he's physically really good?
Yeah, but you said it, right? They've got to be the highest scoring offense in the league. There's a lot of mouths to feed there. I'll tell you who you can't get for a single first anymore. Mecca Buka.
You can't get him for 2 firsts anymore.
No, you cannot. Not
He's
after
just
2 touchdowns.
immediately BTJ 3 firsts. That
Not
happened
after 2
faster than
touchdowns.
I thought.
Yep. So, all right. Well, this has been another episode of The Extra Point. We appreciate all the support. If you like the show, you can see the scrolling banner on the bottom. Go ahead and jump on that Instagram page at @the_extra_point_FFB. Listen on Patreon. Listen on Spotify at The Extra Point. Of course, go and hit that like and subscribe button for us on YouTube. We will be back next week. And next week, we will not yet be talking rookies. We'll be talking more about this first month of the season. We'll throw, again, some new trades for you guys in there. Talking about some players that values might be going up, values might be going down. Sadly, we know next week we'll have its casualty list on the IR. So some of those guys on your bench might become very important very quickly. A la anyone who has George Kittle, your backup tight end is now your starter for the next month. I hate to say that, but the 49ers...
Isaac Tesla is about to score a touch. Isaac Tesla is going to outscore Hunter next week and is going to make me look very stupid. I just realized I've put that out into the ether sphere now, and everyone loves Isaac Tesla, and I should not have done an anti-Tesla take on TV. Man.
I sold him for 2 seconds about 3 days before JMO got the extension. So I'm very happy with
that's
that
part of what got me thinking, man. Like, I know
about.
Tesla fever's here.
Huge.
I was like, it was such a weird. You ever do those discipline trades where you're like, I'm super in on a guy, but somehow the market's more in on him. Like, he's that sexy. I have to trade him, right?
Yeah.
Like, but before you keep him and never let him go ever, and he becomes Justin Fields, it's come back around somehow.
You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. We all make trades that we don't like that come back to bite us, or don't bite us. They win. They end up winning us, and we all make trades that you're like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." But
your Breece Hall trade's finally paying off. It took a long time.
It took a while, but I know. And I lost in the league last week.
Oh,
for those that are new to the show, Kendall and I are in several leagues together, but one of which is how we met. It's one of our both main Dynasty leagues. And we both have pretty loaded rosters. And I'm not going to say his name in case he's watching the show, but I lost to, on paper, the worst team in the league last week. So that did not feel good. That did not feel good at all. So I would like to personally thank Jamar Chase and Amon-Ra St. Brown for forgetting to play football. I would also really like to thank Kenneth Walker, who I decided would be a good start over Breece Hall, and that was not my best decision. We're just going to pretend that I didn't do that.
We're going to have to do more of that on show where we actually break down like our some actual teams and trades.
Well, this one's the one that really got me. And I blame you for this. I blame the rest of our friends for this.
Uh-oh.
Cortland Sutton or Zay Flowers. I specifically put that in the group chat on Sunday, and it was unanimous. Cortland
I
Sutton.
never responded.
Fine, then it wasn't your fault. It was Mike and Rasta and Tycoon
Normally,
and Anthony.
okay.
Anthony's in this chat. And I'm mad at him because
normally, if it's important, you'll at me and you'll say,
That's
"Guys,
true.
I appreciate it, but I need to be right." So, Kendall,
Well,
I need to ask you. You did that last time, but it definitely saved
to
your
be
butt.
fair, Cortland Sutton was 61 and a touchdown, so it's not like he shit the bed.
No.
It wasn't a bad start. It just
Dude,
was
I
that
felt
Zay
bad
Flowers
that
was the
come
wide
back.
receiver one on the week.
I was
so
definitely gonna say Flowers. I'm sorry,
okay.
but I feel like I owe you something for that.
Yeah, you owe me a win. So when I play you, just start a couple guys that you shouldn't. No, I'm kidding. But all right, guys, we could go on all night. But we appreciate you all being here. Of course, again, if you like the show, please help us out, like and subscribe.
Get in the
Make sure
Discord.
you are coming back to our main show, Get Right Fantasy Network, on Friday night. We will have all of the matchups, breakdowns, sit, start advice. Of course, we will have that as well Sunday live with Mike as he gets you ready for kickoff. Kendall is throwing our Discord into the chat. Please join and engage with us there. If you do have questions for the show, if you want us to answer anything, we have super chats, but Discord is a great place to get our advice. And if we love your question and we think it's going to create some good content opportunities, we may even feature it on a show instead of just answering it directly in the chat through the Discord channel as well. So have a wonderful night. Everybody get ready for one big deep breath tomorrow, because then it is Washington at the Green Bay Packers, and we're back to week 2. Kendall, we're ready to rock and roll.
That could actually be a scary good game, man.
Should be game of the week. We'll see how it goes. But for myself, Phil Ruskin, host of the Extra Point, all of us here at the Get Right Fantasy Network, thanks for joining the show. We out.
Wanted to write fantasy is the play. Marking nothing but I tune every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go and roll your sleeves up.
Yeah, losing in the Hall of Fame by 7 points to Mike sucked. Like, really sucked.
That was brutal, man.
I have
Your
already
team
made
looks so good.
I've already made the adjustments. Brees Hall's back in the lineup, and Zay Flowers is going back in the lineup as well. So
yeah,
Dude,
there's like almost no way we don't meet in the finals with how
I just put
the
Tyreek
lineups
Hill on the
look.
bench, Pacheco's on the bench, KW3's on the bench, Nick Chubb's on the bench. I put Bill Krosky on the bench because of Green Bay's defense. Like, I need to just roll with what I got here. So, and who do I play this week? I don't know. Let's figure it out.
At least you do have Bill though. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, I got him for $0 too. I play CD
Brees
Lamb.
and
I play Silver
Zion.
Dollar. CD Lamb dunks. Drake May, Bo Nix, Travion, Aaron Jones. Drake London. He may not play. That's sad, but good for me. AJ Brown. Who the fuck knows?
I was gonna bring that up. I actually scouted that out, and I'm like, you got the guy. You dodged Drake London. Like, that's nasty.
I might have dodged him and AJ. We'll see what AJ Brown looks like, but I might have dodged them both. McBride, Harvey, and Njoku. Yeah. Well, if you'd asked me last week, I would have said I was a shoe-in to win, and I lost. So that's how fantasy goes. But hopefully I win this week and get back on track. You should.
Well, I
win
mean,
too.
Dak.
Oh, you're playing Mike.
Dak shit the bed too. So,
yeah, Dak
like,
had a shitty night. So yeah,
that's probably
anyway.
just an average game for CMC. That's probably just. I mean, at the end of the day, that's an average game for Lamar. I mean, he had less than 20 completions, 200. I mean, that's just a Lamar.
I mean, this week with Lamar, it's with Christian with no George. I mean, I don't know how. Put it this way: if Christian McCaffrey, we've said it before, I think it's an even higher percentage chance now without George that if McCaffrey stays healthy, I think he has to finish as the RB1 if he's healthy. I don't see how he can't.
Yeah,
like who?
Guy, I mean, him and Gibbs had 10 targets.
Who can outscore him? Gibbs, Bijan, maybe. But even they have Monty and Algiers. Like, Christian has, I mean, B-Rob, I was at the game. I watched B-Rob come and play. First of all, B-Rob's a lot taller than I thought he was. He's like very upright. He runs very vertically. I've never seen him run in person. Obviously, I've only ever seen him run on TV. He just didn't. Put it this way: if I didn't know it was B-Rob, I wouldn't have known. Like, there's certain guys you're like, oh, I can tell who. Like, like, oh, that's Tyler. Like who Zach Charbonnet is if he was running.
Yeah,
you can tell. But I couldn't. Anyway, I mean, obviously I knew it was B-Rob, but I was just like, interesting.
Man, I forgot you had McCaffrey.
Yeah,
my memory of that was just like I felt terrible about the trade, and now McCaffrey looks like he's gonna be the RB1. And if you win this year, it's probably because Lamar is the number one QB and McCaffrey is the number one running back and Jamar Chase is the number one wide receiver, and you triple crown into it's hard to beat 120 points across 3 players.
I will gladly take losing week 1 if it means I win a ring in week 17.
So, all right, let's talk about making your team better here, though. I mean, this is so like, if I'm gonna wear the crown, I actually do want to go through you and I want to beat you, but I want to beat you while your team is looking absolutely at its best. Because I think there'll be no better victory than like, this is the toughest opponent I'll ever fucking play ever. Whoever wins that battle should that should be a day. But what are you doing about tight end here, man? Like, feels great that the Bills are looking good and Kincaid's better, but at the same time, your lineup is absolutely stupid good, and you're gonna have too much value on your bench to still be starting Kincaid. And
I don't have any other choice right now, though. It's him and Freiermuth. I mean,
who's doing it in the trade market for you right now, man? You gotta have something out there, right?
I mean, problem is that as well as I do,
not everyone's an equal trading partner.
You can't go get Tyler Warren. You can't go get George Kittle. I tried really hard to trade for George Kittle this offseason, even with having McCaffrey, and he wouldn't do it. You don't get a chance to get Trey McBride, and you can't get Bowers.
And I offered a lot for McBride, too. I offered a fuck.
Well, I mean, you have Bowers, and you're not giving Bowers up. Nobody would give Bowers up. So it's like, who am I really trading up into if I can't get those guys? Like, I get it. Kincaid's not the tight end 5.
Here's what you do.
But, like, who is?
Well, interestingly enough, in this league, I feel like Thannon's a decent enough target. He's in the consideration of, like, we need to go after multiple. Have you tried to go after Likely on the upshot that, like, when he comes back, he's, like, the dude?
Yeah. But he just lost George Kittle. So I'm like, what am I giving up?
Okay,
what am I giving up to get Likely? He has Taysom Hill, Elijah Arroyo, and Likely. So it's like,
you go trade for Kittle now.
For what? For a third, second?
He's got that contract. Do you overinvest in Kittle, saying like you're going to have a championship window this year, next year, and Kittle, give him a third year and make that his last year, but 3-year championship window for easily.
I mean, I'd have to trade.
You're going to have Kittle.
I'd have to trade your second because it's a late second. I would rather have mine to control my own destiny, and then I have P. Milne's, and P. Milne, I'm pretty sure, was a playoff team last year. I think he was in the top 4. So I have 3 late seconds. Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Caleb, Shedeur Sanders, Chase Brown.
I mean, can you throw Kincaid? Like, this is top price. I'm saying, like, maybe you throw him Kincaid a second and a third for Kittle, but if I'm him, I would just ride it out, right? But Kincaid in 2 seconds, you're really making him go there with like, dude, if I don't win this year, I should take the 2 seconds in Kincaid. I probably should. If I know in my heart I'm not winning.
If George Kittle was healthy, yes, I would make that trade. But here's the thing. It's a hamstring. It could be 6 weeks before he's back. 8 weeks.
Well, also not everyone's us, and some people will just be like, "Dude, he's injured. I literally don't have a good backup."
I mean, likely.
Do you just throw him Kincaid in a single second and see if he's like, "Oh, Bill's tight end plus a pick, I'm in." And would you do that, Kincaid in a single second for Kittle?
I would trade him. In all honesty, I would trade him one of my running backs or one of my wide receivers straight up for Likely. That's what I would do.
Oh, yeah. Start flipping stuff. You've got guys that have some names.
I have some names and guys that aren't like, would you trade?
Like Mims is still a name. Mims, you probably should sell Mims while he's still like, you could be like an angry Mims owner who's like, fuck him. I'm out on Knicks or whatever. I mean, one bad game people could buy.
But like the name I was looking at was Demario Douglas.
I mean, I don't think he has much in the trade market.
But that's what I'm saying.
Compared to Mims, but I'm saying Douglas is almost at the like, people aren't going to give you a third for him, so they're going to value him at probably a 4th, which isn't going to move the needle on any reasonable player. So I might as well keep him at a 4th round evaluation, right? Unless you were selling him for a pure pick.
I just want to see like Likely. Would you take Likely or Kincaid straight up? Well,
like at this point, like that's one of those I wouldn't overpay for likely when
oh my
I
gosh,
already have
Kendall,
like
I forgot to end the stream. We're having this whole conversation on the stream. Whoops.